profits. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good morning and welcome to Saratoga today on a beautiful sunny afternoon / morning here in Chicago and New York, as thankfully the weather has cleared out. It is Sunday, August 4th. Thanks for joining us this morning as I am here today with my wonderful co-host, but actually host of Ben Boozen, Kyle Roscoe. Kyle, good morning. I see you're sporting the Crownsway Racing hat. Could that be in honor of a certain horse that won yesterday?
You look, man. When you get these wins, you got to sport them as best you can. It is. Otago, of course, for those that don't know, won yesterday. It won a nice allowance race at Colonial. So got a sport for the boys and glad to get one home yesterday. But Howard, more happy that the weather finally shapes up well for us in Saratoga after whatever the heck happened yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was interesting. I don't want to, talk about too much what happened yesterday because tomorrow, Kyle, we have a really fantastic show. Paul Halloran's going to join me, of course, one of our great co-hosts, and also writes for the Saratoga Special. We're going to recap Whitney Day tomorrow night, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Horse around, check it out. And Kyle, we do have exclusive information as Paul talked to the New York Gaming Commission to talk about their decision to cancel turf races tomorrow. And also there's an article in the Saratoga Special that Paul wrote. So tomorrow night's going to be a really interesting conversation, not only talk about the races, but sort of behind the scenes intel on decisions, whether to take races on or keep them on, take them off. Of course, we all remember what happened last year. It was a complete disaster on many fronts. And I don't think the bar should be, well, at least no one was euthanized yesterday. I mean, I don't think that should be the bar. However, the fact that nothing happened other than just races were taken off the turf, that's a positive sign for New York racing.
Well, of course, and you're never gonna make everybody happy. There's always gonna be people that complain taking races off the turf, but I actually don't mind. Granted, again, it sucks that we didn't get that the full Whitney card yesterday because just carded alone, it was a fantastic card. But either way, like I said, we don't lose the races. We obviously get to bet them again, hopefully bet them again next weekend. And like I said, my birthday card just keeps getting better on August 10th, like I kept tweeting on Twitter.
Absolutely. No, it's pretty exciting and good things happening yesterday. Again, we'll talk about the races in general tomorrow night on Horse and Around. But real quick, I mean, before we get into the late pick 5 today, Arthur's Ride, a 110 buyer in the Whitney, which almost paired up his top in his allowance race. I just have one question for you, Kyle, and then we'll move on. Breeders' Cup Classic, serious threat or one-off?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the reason why I didn't have him won yesterday is because I thought the pace wouldn't set up for him. But you thought that last race was a one-off. Now he pairs it again in a fantastic edition of the Whitney. I feel you at least have to take a look at him, especially. Bill Mott was talking. I know I don't want to talk too much about it, but because you guys will cover it really in depth tomorrow. But Bill Mott was talking after yesterday. He said Jockey Club Gold Cup's a major possibility, and if he runs big again in there, I mean, especially the way Del Mar's been running this year, it could be a huge threat if he continues to keep this type of form.
I mean, he's the fastest handicap horse in the country right now. He's not the most accomplished, obviously. He's only one graded stake, but I mean, geez, no one's those figs, Kyle, are serious Breeders' Cup Classic figs, right? You don't win the Breeders' Cup Classic with like low 100 buyers in the in previous history. So anyway, we'll talk about it more. Please make sure you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We have Power Picks down below. Find out information about our regular Power Picks. Kyle wrote our Saratoga Power Picks today. Great job, Kyle, with that. Hopefully we'll get some winners today, and go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Shout out to Pete Visco, who tipped out Arthur's Ride on our show Thursday night. Great call by him. I just didn't think he'd be able to get loose. I don't know what the plan was on National Treasure, but again, we'll talk about more about that on tomorrow night's show. My betting day was a complete disaster. I've said it before. I'll say it again, Kyle. We need to celebrate the wins when we have it, but we also have to be honest with our viewers and listeners. And I was awful yesterday. I just a lot of things didn't work out. Some of it was because of the surface switches. I don't like betting wet tracks, and well, it would have been soft turf, but anyway, I just don't love those days. But anyway, my picks were not were not good. Actually, Disarm ran okay, ran a
Yeah.
closing fourth. I was hoping he'd get third, but in the winning. Anyway, we're going to move on. Hopefully today will be a better day. Let's get into the late pick five. And we're going to discuss the late pick five here today on Saratoga today. It should be mentioned, Kyle, really nice race one. Some very talented
Yeah.
2-year-old babies, including a $950,000 starter, I believe. And then next is next in race two. What's the morning line of next, Kyle, in race two today?
I was gonna say, I don't know if anyone else has ever seen it. I mentioned this yesterday. I've never seen a 1-9 morning line favorite. Granted, I mean that's pretty much on what he's going to be come post time. So I mean, David Aragona's got it spot on, but yeah, I've never seen that before.
I mean, if there's ever a definition of a free square, I don't know what
Oh.
it is. Anyway, let's get into late pick five. Now, let me grab my phone because I need some workout reports. There are some baby races, as there usually is in the late pick five. And excuse me as I'm scrolling and get to it. Let's go to race 6, which opens up the late pick five today, as I'm going to go ahead and bring it on screen right now. Here we go. Race 6 starts the late pick five. Maiden 2-year-old fillies, New York breds going 6 furlongs on the dirt. There is turf racing, by the way. We should mention everyone. They are on the turf today. This is a dirt race. Pretty wide open board. Moreline favorite is the number 3, cleverly spelled Boston's Finest, Chad and Flavian. Let me go ahead and bring up our banners here on the screen, and we will talk about the race. If I can go down, scroll down, and get to them. And here we go. Let's see. I'm going 6-4-3. Kyle's going 3-6-4. So Kyle, we are somewhat similar here. Why don't you talk about your top choice, who is the morning line favorite here, the number 3, Boston's Finest?
Well, like I said, it's always challenging with these baby races. I mean, but Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, Flavian's honestly, in my opinion, the best jockey in the country right now. We were talking about how you could put him on a donkey, and some of these claimers will probably get him home at least in the money. He's working pretty well. As the worker report has been B minuses, which has been about par for this field. There's a couple that have Bs, which I'm sure is why you like the horse you like on top. But all in time, the dam of the 3. So the 3's a half to Liban, who is a Saffy Joseph horse. Pretty good, pretty decent on dirt. Fourth in a listed stake. Has run in grade 3s. And then went to turf and was second, and then won at Lone Star Park in grade 3s. So, and the other runner, stress reliever, is still running now and is a winner on dirt as well. So 2 winners from the dam. This is one that might have to overcome a little bit of a slow start in the works, but either way, this is kind of a Chad Flavian trust moment. But of course, as you're starting the late pick 5, it's a great way to watch the board as well.
Yeah, the Honest Mischief is a first crop sire. You never really know what to expect from that. There's really not a lot of intel. This is a May, it was not a May foal. It was actually purchased in May. It was an April foal, so a little bit later in the year, right? Which is why this horse is probably starting her career a little bit later in the 2-year-old season, or at least later in the Saratoga season. You gotta look at the board. I'm sure the 4 is gonna be live. Twirling Lulus, a Twirling Candy out of Bustin' Stones. There's a lot of speed and precocity there on the dam side, which is why I have the 4 second with Irad. I'm going with Scythian or Scythian. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Goichman is a very well known in New York. Mott and Lascano. Mott seems to have a knack with fillies more than colts with the 2-year-olds. I really don't know why, but I don't have stats in front of me. I just know that he's better with the fillies babies than he is with the colt babies. This is a Tiz the Law filly. And Tiz the Law, this is his first crop. So this is a daughter of Tiz the Law. Empire Maker maybe wants longer. I don't know, but the works are very good. You see a bullet work on July 8th. Again, it's a guessing game. Watch the board. I just, the horses that have run actually, how many horses are there? Any horse? Yeah, the 2 is the only one that's run and was awful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a first time starter, you would think is going to win this race, and you just got to look at the board, Kyle, and take some guesses here.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I had the 6 and second. It was that same exact point, was that maybe this horse wants longer. All the dam's progeny, I don't think a single one of them has won sprinting, or at least at least later in the career for sure. Maybe early can be something, but when you look at the dam of the 6, there's an Arlington legend at the top of the list.
Oh,
Bonita Cat, who ran for Campbell and Melon Patch. If you're from the
oh yeah,
Chicago area, of course, know that name.
of
But
course.
yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. Yeah, just worried that the horse might want a little bit longer, which is why I ended up going with the 3.
I believe Campbell and Melon Patch, the connections of the winner of this year's Illinois Derby, if I recall. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely. And unfortunately, at my dismay, but
Me too. But hey, what are you gonna do? We got a
exactly.
lot of people in the chat. Let's check out some people here in the chat. Chris Couples mentioned that these 2 main races
Yeah.
are loaded. Yes, for sure. Especially race 1. It's gonna be a fun race. And scratches are already out. We do appreciate that. From David. I'm not sure the last name, but David, thanks for joining the show. Let's go, boys. Happy Sunday from the spa. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead on to the next race, Kyle. Next race is race 7. Again, these are a main special weight. These are babies. These are 2-year-old New York bred filly. No, sorry. These are open company. 2-year-old fillies going 2 turns on the turf. Always tough to figure. Moreline favorite here is what a shocker, a Chad and the newly inducted Hall of Famer Joel Rosario at 5-2. Ballerina de Oro on the outside, the 9 horse. Let's see who we are going to go with here as I bring up the picks. I'm going 4, 9, 10, and Kyle's going 4, 9, 2. We're both going to go with Love Tempo for Brendan Walsh and Tyler G. I'll let you go first again. Kyle, this one has something that many of these don't experience.
Yeah, and of course, as contrary to the last race we talked about with the 1 horse to experience, this horse actually ran a very, very good debut at Ellis going a mile. Brendan Walsh isn't necessarily known for his first time outers, and this one came absolutely flying late. Got out of the gate slow. Of course, we can't show the replay, but got out of the gate slow, was way back early, and absolutely was flying late. Just ended up losing by a length and 3/4. I think if
There's the final quarter, by the way, much better than anyone else. What is that?
yeah,
Almost what
I mean,
point? And do a little math here, but 3/5 of a
3/5,
second
yeah.
faster than anyone else on the close there. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's I mean, and even horses from the even farther back, by far the best quarter, by far the best last quarter. So I completely agree with you. It's just a matter of can Tyler maybe get him in a little bit, or get her a little bit more into the race early, maybe sit mid pack, maybe just like 8th or something like that, and have her flying with that same late kick. Should be good enough to win.
It is fair to mention, I don't think people look at this enough. I know I look at it. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. That last race fell apart. Now,
Yep.
Ellis Turf, it's I don't know if it's the softer turns or what it is, but just closers seem to do well on Ellis Turf in general. You can see Kyle's. I'll go full screen as we like to teach on this show as well as
Yeah.
handicap here. The horses that were in 8th, 9th, and 11th at the first quarter call ended up 1, 2, 3. So I mean the pace was pretty fast here, 23, 3, 46, and 4. Any worry about that maybe that she just closed into a fast pace and maybe a bit overrated here? I say no, just because I think she's got talent, but it's a little bit of something to
Yeah.
pay attention to.
The nice thing is that we can always point out when there's something that we think that this horse has talent, this horse is going to win anyway, but necessarily the last race obviously set up for her. So I completely agree with you. It's just a matter of a lot of these 2-year-old races, they have a lot. I mean, they generally, in very general terms, they have a lot of speed going on. A lot of these 2-year-olds just like to sprint out to the front, as we'll see later in the card with the Adirondack Stakes, a little bit preview. But I just think she has talent. If she can be put into the race a little bit earlier and not have to be 10 lengths back at the start of the call, I feel like with the Saratoga turf that's also been pretty receptive to closers this meet, I think Love Tempo could have the trip to be able to win this one.
Without giving too much intel, Clocker report, the last one, Love Tempo worked with a stakes placed horse, Kyle, and was behind that one purposely a few lengths back, and in the work was able to finish up on even terms with a 3-year-old stake placed horse. So I got a feeling this filly by Churchill out of a Deep Impact. Woo,
Yeah.
Japanese bred. I got a feeling this is a pretty talented horse, but trip and etc. is going to play a factor. We'll see what happens there. Ballerina d'Oro, the other obvious one here, a $320,000 Medaglia d'Oro filly out of a Tappet mare. This horse screams talent and long.
Yeah, and half to Blue Light, who was a horse that was on track for like the Ellis Park Derby, granted on dirt, but the fact is still there that bred to City of Light was in the Moonlight and had a really nice runner in there. Now getting bred to Medaglia d'Oro, who should only favor this horse going longer on the turf. I feel like this is a perfect setup for Chad and Rosario first time out, as long as you'll get a decent price. It's worth taking a shot. But as we all know, these Chads love to get bet first time out on the turf.
I didn't look this up this morning, but I'm going to do it now because we do have a little bit of time just to give some people some intel. And I'm pressing a lot of buttons here for people that are not familiar with. I was going to go to the track. People are not familiar with with DRF here, Formulator. What we're doing is I'm bringing up stats of Chad with 2-year-olds, first-time starters on the turf at Saratoga. This is pretty damn impressive, Kyle. 20% on the win end, 55% in the money. And look at the ROI is pretty much beats the takeout of $1.60. So even with Chad and Irad and all that, you still are getting okay prices just because these fields are competitive. I mean, it's one of the things he does best is 2-year-old first-time starters on the turf at Saratoga, which is really damn difficult to have good stats in that situation.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing. I always laugh when these high-profile trainers, you look and it's 20% and everything's in the red because it's worse than what they normally do at 25% or something ridiculous. So
that is the last 5 years, I should say.
Yes,
so that's only the last 5 years, but I want to mention that.
I completely agree with everything you said, Howard. It's just obviously the tendency that these horses can get overbet. So maybe there's value in other horses, maybe even second choice like Love Tempo, who's most likely going to be that second choice. But I mean, look, it's a 2-year-old filly field going long on the turf at Saratoga. Anything can happen. I mean, this horse is to the inside for Cherie DeVoe, John Terranova with Flavian Pratt on the 1. You obviously like the 10. In
Chris Couples wants me to bring that up. Go ahead, keep talking. Sorry, Chris Couples likes the 1. Let's see the stats on Terranova. Go ahead, keep talking.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, like, it's just there's so many different ways you can go. So if you don't like the favorites, you can make a ton of cases for a bunch of other horses, like your 10, Howard, you have in there, you haven't talked about yet. But that Dam has massive turf breeding, which I'm sure is why you like the horse most. Cherie DeVoe's great with her first time runners, and the Dam of that one, who's only had one progeny come back to race, was very good on both turf and dirt. So there's just a ton of value other ways if you can get around the 9 and 4.
This is Terranova. This is not at Saratoga only. I just did everywhere. Not a lot, only 11 stars, but he won twice. And the average payoff, let me go ahead and go to the finish here, and we can see is very good. He won with a 5-2 shot in 2020. In 2022, Freedom Trail, it's a horse we know, won at almost 13.5 to 1. So anyway, small sample size, but Terranova can do it. Chris, thanks for the information. I'll just go to the 10 real quick and we'll move on. You mentioned this one does have a race under her belt. I know she didn't do much, but American Pharaohs are better on the turf, Kyle, as it turned out. Midnight Loot can also win on the turf, and the Dam Courteous was obviously, you can see, a nice turf horse out in Southern California, and McPete doesn't crank his horses up early. So I have a feeling this horse is going to run. And I'm curious to see what price number 10, She's a Swede, is going to be. Kyle, if people like to play the pick 5 today, there's really no excuse for saying I have no idea, because you do have an idea. The first race, you can see the board. And the second race, tell what people can do if they want to see the board for the second race.
I mean, if you're on an ADW, it's the best. It's one of the best tools that are out there to see, where the money's going to go in the next races. You can go to, especially I use Naira Bets. Again, whatever you use, it's available anywhere. You go to the probables till the next race, and you go to the double, and you can see where all the doubles going, because obviously that money's locked in for the next race. So that usually gives excuse me, a good inclination on where the money's going in the next race with in terms of favoritism.
Let's see where our money's going to go into race 8. Race 8 is an allowance optional claiming 62.5, 6 furlongs. This is some really nice salty I don't say veterans, but horses that are not babies. There are 2, the 3 and the 8 that are in for the 62.5. It's a field of 8. The morning line favorite and live odds are up. Also now is the number 7 implementation for Safi and Irad at 3-1. I am going 6-7-5. Kyle's going 8-5-6. So we are a little bit different here. Kyle, I'm going to go first here with the
Yep.
number 6, Bilal. This is a real solid horse that I like the fact that he's tactical. I understand that he's a 3-year-old taking on older. I guess you could see that as a negative. You have this 1/3. I love turnbacks. He can be quick when he wants to be early, and I think he is going to show some speed. I'm hoping he sits off your 8. I just think he's better than the 8. We'll see.
Yeah.
He's going to have to run very well. He lost a domestic product in that, loaded Dwyer. I don't really I'm not going to take that as too much of a negative. I wish he ran better. He sort of gave it up early, but maybe this horse wants to sprint, Kyle.
That's
So that's why I'm going with Bilal. It's not my strongest opinion. I just love turnbacks, and I don't mind a 3-year-old later in the year versus older.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely what I agree with. I don't think he wants to run the mile. And Dwyer, like we said, was pretty loaded, at least for that 3-year-old division. I just think he runs better at 6. And if he runs a race like that Keeneland back in the spring and sits right off the speed and goes by, I think he's got a huge shot. The only reason why I like the 8 Howard was a complete pace play. And he's way faster than all these horses. The only thing that I don't like about this horse is because
here you go.
He hasn't won in 2 years. He hasn't won since 22, but I'm really hoping, and Santana's really good in this regard, that he's very aggressive when he needs to get to the lead. And I'm really hoping that he just sends like a banshee and just tries to run them off their feet. Because in my opinion, that's the way that Chadalot wins this race, is that if he gets clear by 2.5 and is able to just run them off, Bilal probably closes, from just off, maybe wins by a length or so. But that's the reason why I like Chadalot in this race.
He's in really good form, and I probably should have him in my top 3, to be honest. I know he was, the first race back at Oklahoma, and I understand that was a comeback race, but that was a slow pace, and he still couldn't get the job done. It seems like if you breathe on this horse, he loses. But then again, this track obviously is a much shorter stretch than Churchill. Like you said, he's got the outside post. He's going to get loose. For people that are concerned, that he's in for the tag. Well, he's already won 4 times, so he's past his condition. He has to be in for the 62.5. The work pattern is, this horse never works his horse fast. These are some really slow works.
Yeah.
It feels to me this horse is a bit ouchy, and I'm not saying he's injured. What I mean by that, Kyle, is he's a bit fragile, and Asmussen just saves his best for the afternoon, not the morning, because it doesn't look that way to you. Just it feels that way. But look, if this horse is anywhere near 5-1, I would have to play this horse somewhere.
That's what I mean, right? And preview for those of you that bought the power picks today. It's a complete pace angle, and if he gets loose in here, hopefully he can run on maybe a high 80s, low 90s buyer, and that should be able to get the job done. But you're like I said, your concerns are completely valid. He hasn't won also in a long time. He's gotten 2 seconds and a third this year out of 3 starts. Of course, as he's gotten to 5, it looks like he's finally starting to click, in consistent races. It's just a matter of him putting it together for the winner's circle. And that first race at Oakland is completely right. I'm hoping that that's just, a first time out for the barn this year. This time now he's got 3 starts under his belt this year. Gets loose on the lead with Ricardo. I hope that he should be able to hold off as long as he has the trip that I envision.
I agree. I'm also going to use the 7 implementation. A little more consistent maybe than the 6. Has the ability to close. Again, I love turnbacks. I like the fact that he's sucking off the layoff. I think this is in a weird way the horse to beat. I'm just not putting him on top, Kyle, but it seems like any of these outside horses can win. I wouldn't sleep on the 5 either, who you've got second. Cape Trafalgar, who is a 5-year-old for Safi. Again, high 80s, low 90s buyer. Dylan has been fantastic this meet. 21% for Dylan Davis. He's just riding his ass off. This horse can obviously win a fun race and a little bit of a spready race, I would think here, unless you want to take a stand.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's really you either take a stand because a lot of these races we say the same thing is you either take a stand because there's a lot of tough races in this sequence. Find one, find two, take a stand in one race. I think I did end up taking 1.58 in this race. Off that last race for Cape Trafalgar, maybe 5.86 and maybe 5.68. But either way, yeah, you got to find some places to take stands in a very tough sequence. So I completely agree with you there.
The feature today, Kyle's, I go ahead and take the picks off the screen. The feature today is the Adirondack. This is a grade 3 for 2-year-old fillies, Kyle. And before I bring up the entries and the PPs, some scratches have caused some major changes to this race. I laughed when I saw the PPs at first, not because of the field was poor, but because originally in the main body of the field there were 9, and I think I counted 7 were dead speed. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Now there's only 3 or 4 that are dead speed as I go ahead and bring up the field for this year's Adirondack Stakes. It's for the 2-year-old fillies. They are going 6.5, Kyle. They actually have furlong, might make a huge difference. Grade 3. There are scratches. You can see big scratches here. Jamie Nessa's number 5, Social Fortress, out. Wesley Ward's number 8, White Sands, out. I'm wondering if they looked at the PPs also, Kyle, and said, we're going to pick another spot.
Yeah.
Although there are only so many 2-year-old stake races at Saratoga, so I'm just speculating there. It might not be that. Now it's a field of 7. The morning line favorite was White Sands at 3-1. I guess we have to, officially default to the now morning line favorite, the number 9, the Queen's MG for Safi and Dylan at 7-2 on the outside. I don't know if this one's going to be favored. I have a weird feeling, Kyle, that the horse that we both really like in this spot, despite the scratches, is going to end up being the favorite. I'm going 2-3-9. You're going 2-9-4. We both really like Italian Soiree. Pete Visco and all the Italians out there rejoice, and Paul as well, who's I think half Italian or whatever he is. Anyway, Italian Soiree has one thing, Kyle, that these others have not proven, and that is possible tactical speed and an ability to pass horses.
Yeah, and that last race obviously was at Aqueduct early in the year, and yeah, it was very impressive. The thing that I like, Howard, and I'm sure you do as well, being a visual handicapper, when you watch these replays, is not only does she have the ability to pass horses, but she has the ability to overcome a decently bad start.
Oh, let's watch that. Sorry.
No, you're good. She just broke a little slow, I believe, out of the gate. Yellow, who was the 6 in this race, just didn't get into stride just as fast as everyone else. Yellow, the 6 right there, was 3-5, was her a pole runner, or 3-4, excuse me, in that race. But it's a big sustained bid. I mean, she was moving from the backstretch all the way until now. And Howard, like I was mentioned earlier, was the thing that I liked, and I don't know if you saw it as well, was the professionalism. You see, she switches leads there, and she's like pretty straight all the way through here, and she just powers away. Granted, again, you don't know who is in this field, but it looked pretty impressive to me.
I agree. Maybe this video is shown in Sierra Leone's barn, like on rerun. So it's, this is how you're supposed to run.
A 2-year-old getting shown to that. Yeah.
Yellow was pretty well meant. I want to show the head on. I wonder. I haven't seen this yet. Actually, I wonder if she got bumped a little bit. No, actually, she caused her own trouble there, Kyle.
Yeah.
Did you see that? So
yes,
she can't do that today. That might be a problem if she does that today, but hopefully she'll get herself straightened out. Yeah, I mean, look, it was a small field. It was a 65 buyer. It's the kind of race that's not spectacular, but like you said, very professional. I love that with 2-year-olds. We see it time and time again, Kyle, and this is a big negative for me in general. Horses that run off the screen on the lead, they're a baby. Ooh, they got an 83 buyer, and then they face other speed in this kind of race. They don't get the job done. I much prefer a horse that's slower, who does it more professionally, took a little dirt, closed. I think Italian Soiree an Uncle Mo filly out of a Smart Strike mare. So, maybe this horse could be on turf at some point of her career.
Yeah.
Has been working well. I just have nothing negative to say. She's going to have to beat the Queen's MG,
Yeah.
who, what a weird career she's had so far, Kyle.
Don't even.
Debuted for really low connections at Keeneland and won at 45-1. Threw in a clunker in the Astoria, and then in the Schuylerville was 44-1 and won by 2. She's gonna be the favorite now. So what? Auto toss?
Yeah, I guess we're running the fierceness every other race angle here with this one. Last thing I want to mention, Howard, on the 2 before we move before I move on to Queen's MG, was she's also a half to Be Better, who is a Rapoli runner for the Russells, who's done very well in a lot of her races, his races as well. So that's just another tip in the cap for Italian Soiree. But the Queen's MG makes a ton of sense because not only she can pass horses as well. She showed last time out in the Schuylerville where again, shocker, I didn't like her last race. Didn't like her the first time out at Keeneland either. Didn't like her in the Astoria for what it's worth either. But she's like I said, it's 45-1 favoritism, 44-1 favoritism, and like you said, maybe just doesn't do anything in this race either. But it's hard to throw out a horse that another horse that showed that she can pass professionally. With a ton of speed in front of her, but makes a ton of sense in the world. But I'm willing to take a chance, go other places.
There's a lot. I mean, this Anna Karina ran big at Churchill for Dallas Stewart, going 4.5, but again, did it on the lead. The 6 is probably not as quick as some others. This 4 is definitely going on paper, at least for Irad, who only knows one way. This 3, I'm actually interested a little bit for Keneally. I like the fact she won at 6 furlongs and not like 4.5 or 5. And she's been working well. The 3 would be my sort of sneaky playing here. I have no idea if this horse can pass others if necessary, but she costs 360,000. So number 3 at Atomic City to me could be very live in this spot. And then what in the literal? I mean, what in the blank do you do with this horse? Because 1-2 starts back. Last time lost the jock. It's Johnny V and Jenna Antonucci. This is a tricky race. My gut feeling is a toss to Queen's MG completely, not because she's a yin yang. It just feels like there's others in here that could have more ability, but I don't know. This is a tricky race, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that at all. And I agree with you on the Queen's MG. There's just a lot of, like I said, that last race I think was enough for you to probably trust her again. But I'd much more willing to trust horses that are going to be 5-1. There's just there's so many different horses that can win this race. There's no sugarcoating that.
No doubt about it. Let's go ahead and move on to the last race. The last race right here is claiming 30,000, and it's on the turf. How nice! Yay. Mile and a 16th. It is a field. I think it's conditioned non-winners of 2. Yeah, non-winners of 2. Big field of, it looks like. Let's see. All the AEs are out, and the 11 is out. That's weird that none of the Barnstorming decided not to run. Interesting. Isn't that weird that there's an AE and they just like, okay. It's a field of 11. Morning Line favorite is, wow, look at this field. Number 1, Now and Later, Sharp Gaffleon. Let's see who we're going with to close out the races. I'm going 3-1-5. Kyle's going 7-5-1. We're quite different here. Kyle's going with Joe from St. Louis.
Yeah. I actually like your pick, Howard, a lot in this race. The 3, trying to find a different angle in this race. I hate this race. I hate this race with a passion. Look at the horse I'm going with, Howard. 9 for 19 seconds, 1 for 19 winning the races. It's just, this race is very hard to pick a winner in. There's a lot of horses that like to that come from mid pack, like to finish and just don't like to get the job done. The one under her, the 8, Barry Funny, is 1 for 10 with 6 thirds. You can see right there on the time form, the 3 you have in front leading the way. That's why I like the pick, Howard. There's a lot of these horses that like to run on and just don't like to get the job done on the win end. So with the 3, Officer Derek, I think, going to the front end might be the key in this race. But St. Joe Louis is 7. And again, it's just another thing to add to the fire, but he's running. I mean, he's running in good form. He just
But
doesn't
Kyle,
like
this
to
is your
win.
top pick, right?
I
You're
know.
supposed to
I'm
be
getting there.
defending your top pick,
I'm
not
getting there.
poo-pooing your top pick.
I'm getting there. Don't you worry. I mean,
All right.
the numbers
All right.
are a lot faster than a lot of these other horses in this race. He's consistently running these, mid 70s, which could be good enough to win this race, but it's just not a horse I'd normally go with. He's 1 for 19, 9 for 19, second place. If I'm playing vertically, this or horizontally, this is definitely not the only horse I would use in this race. And vertically, I think I need at least 5-1 to play this horse on the win end. But Rosario got a good ride of him last time, and I'm hoping if he can get him a little bit into the mix early, like those Gulfstream races, those claiming 35s, I think that could give him the best shot to win here.
I like the city. I don't like the horse, and I don't like the baseball team that plays in that city. So, look, I can't do it. This horse
I
is
get it.
just
Trust
9
me.
seconds. Key this horse in second and third. Officer Derek, I don't know, but I know Kendrick's going to show speed from the inside. He's much more unexposed as a 3-year-old, Kyle. I don't know if we're going to get 10-1. I think we're seeing more 5 or 6-1 come post time, but last time he was involved in a very fast pace there. Actually, wasn't involved, but he took back and was able to close into a fast pace when that's not really his style. I don't know. It's a bit of a guess. I think the one is probably the likely favorite here. Has some numbers that Fig two back wins this for fun. But now they're dropping him down to try to get a win. This is an easier, race. But he also wants to come from behind in a race that doesn't really favor that. So I don't know. We both got the 5 in the mix. Skellig Island, who to me is the younger version of the 7 from the fact that this closes from deep, but only 6 lifetime starts and gets Flava Flav. But again, the race doesn't look like it's going to fall apart. So I don't know. It's a very tough race. I'm just against the 7. I'd probably only go 1-3 in a small late pick 5 if I were to play it. Final thoughts on this race, Kyle. We'll wrap it up.
I mean, if you bought the power picks today, you know my thought on this race. There's a lot of horses that are in this race for me, at least on the pick 5 sequence. It's just really tough. I mean, there's a lot of horses. That's why I said the 3 for you that, going to the front end, hopefully in this race could be the exact pick or the exact thing you need. Skellig Island is the other horse that I thought. Patrick Reynolds, though, has been not good at all on the turf, especially at Saratoga. He's over a big donut. So, and this, I don't know if this is the horse to get him over that hump necessarily. Just a very tough race and definitely a spready one if you're playing a horizontal sequence.
For sure. It's very difficult. Rob is going to go with the 1 and the 5. It looks like Katie. What's up, Katie? She's going, I believe, race 10. She's going 9-8-1, if I'm reading that correctly from Katie. Katie, always thanks for joining the show. Of course, Tilla's here. That's
unfortunately the horse that scratched.
Oh, that's the horse that scratched, Attila. Okay, so
yeah.
Anyway,
Frizante was the horse.
Oh boy, here's Terry, Mr. St. Louis. What about Tommy? Yep. Oh boy. Sorry, Terry.
Don't worry, you can enjoy those. I mean, he was there before the White Sox, but you can enjoy that because we need the fire sale.
All right, what are the 19 in a row? Are the Sox going to do it today? Do you want them to even win at this point?
I want the record at this point. It's 23 losses in a row set in 1961. If anyone follows me on Twitter, on X, you know that I've been posting it every single day that they lose. There's a Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob one where they're open every single day for like 23 days, and he's ringing the bell. He's like, day 19, get ready for loss 19. It's terrible. They're absolutely awful.
It really is laughable right now. Well, we don't want to talk about losers. We want to keep it to winners on this show, Kyle. So let's hope everyone does well. Tomorrow night, Monday night, horsing around, Paul Halloran. We're going to really talk in depth, not only about the races, about the turf situation. You do not want to miss tomorrow night's show, Kyle, because again, one of the great things about having Paul on the show is he's got inside intel being a journalist for the Saratoga special, and he talks to, people behind the scenes that we don't have a chance to talk to. Also, I made an announcement yesterday. Very excited. I'm going to send out an email. I don't know if you heard. I think you did hear about this. Next Thursday, I may or may not be on our show, Picks and Ponies, because I'm going to be on the live simulcast feed for Hawthorne with Emily Gulkson as a co-host doing the analysis. So check out Hawthorne Racecourse this Thursday, as I will be on their live simulcast feed, hopefully giving out some winners. So that's cool. We got a lot of stuff going on. Usually Wednesday show, we decided what's happening, production meeting in the middle of the show. We decided what's happening on your Wednesday Ben and Boozin show.
Yes, you just wanted to make me say this, didn't you? Got it. Granted, next Thursday, Howard and Pete and Paul, and hopefully Howard, are going to cover Saratoga. They're going to cover that great card that's highlighted by the 4-star Dave, and now the Derby and everything else that showed up there. I got to cover it for the brand. On Wednesday, Ben and Boozin, we're covering the million that goes on at Colonial Downs, the Secretariat, the Beverly D, the fantastic old my sweet race, the Arlington Million. Now at Colonial will be covered on Wednesday on Betting and Boozin. So 8:30 p.m. Eastern Wednesday night. Tune in for that, of course. Right before, and then Thursday night, while you guys are covering Saratoga, I will hopefully be on a flight to Vegas. So I will catch you guys there.
For why?
For the bachelor party. We went to it's a month out, Howard. It's crazy. The wedding's a month out now. It's absolutely unreal.
We're excited and happy for you, Kyle. Well, we hope everyone crushes your bets at the spa. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.